Part 1. A Death in Coach. Train 47 departed Grand Central at 7:12 a.m. every morning, bound for Boston. Its passengers were mostly the same: business people, college students, and early risers faithful to their routines. But this morning, not a single seat remained empty, because someone had boarded with no intention of returning. Detective Alina Voss was off duty. The NYPD homicide detective had planned a weekend in Boston to visit her sister. She'd chosen the early train to avoid the crowds, settled into her window seat in the middle car, and lost herself in the novel she'd been meaning to finish for months. The gentle rocking of the train and the hypnotic rhythm of wheels on tracks had nearly lulled her to sleep when a scream shattered the quiet of the middle carriage. Alina's hand instinctively reached for the weapon that wasn't there. Force of habit. She'd locked her service pistol in her checked luggage, following protocol for off-duty travel. The scream came again, high-pitched, panicked, from the third car. By the time Alina pushed through the connecting door, a small crowd had gathered around a seat midway down the aisle. A young woman in a conductor's uniform was attempting to keep people back. "Please, everyone return to your seats. Is there a doctor on board?" Alina slipped her badge from her pocket. "NYPD, let me through." The crowd parted reluctantly. In the window seat sat a man in his 50s, head slumped against the glass, eyes open but unseeing. His skin had a grayish pallor. A briefcase lay open on his lap, papers scattered across the floor. A half-empty coffee cup rested on the tray table. "What happened?" Alina asked the conductor. "I don't know. The woman sitting next to him went to the restroom. When she came back, she found him like this and screamed. It looks like a heart attack." It did look like a heart attack. No visible trauma, no signs of struggle. The man wore an expensive suit, slightly rumpled from travel. His tie was loosened at the neck. The tie. Something about it caught Alina's eye. The way it was twisted, as if someone had pulled at it. She leaned closer, pretending to check for a pulse she knew wouldn't be there. Carefully, she flipped the silk tie over. There, pinned to the inner lining with a small safety pin, was a folded square of paper. Making sure no one was watching too closely, Alina palmed it and slipped it into her pocket. "We should stop the train at the next station," the conductor was saying. "Get medical assistance." "How long until we reach the next stop?" Alina asked. "New Haven. About 40 minutes. Alina nodded. "I'll stay with the body until then. Clear this area, please." Once alone with the dead man, Alina quickly searched his pockets. Wallet: James Harrington, 53, Manhattan address, executive at Meridian Financial Services. Phone: locked. A business card holder with various contacts. Nothing unusual except for the note. In the relative privacy of the nearly empty car, Alina unfolded the paper from his tie. Written in precise block letters, "This man did not die alone, and I will be next." The hair on Alina's neck stood up. This wasn't a heart attack. This was a message. But from whom? To whom? The train's phone rang, startling her. The conductor picked up at the far end of the car. "Detective," she called a moment later, "the engineer needs to speak with you. Urgently." Alina made her way to the front of the train, through 4 cars of passengers, unaware that anything was wrong. The engineer, a weathered man in his 60s, looked up as she entered the cabin. "We've got a problem," he said, handing her a printed message. "This just came through from dispatch." The message was brief. Suspected biocontaminant on board train 47. Mandatory quarantine protocol initiated. Proceed to isolation track at Newkirk Junction. No stops, no disembarkation. Await CDC team. Biocontaminant? Alina frowned. "What does that mean?" "Don't know. But we've been ordered to a special track. It's an emergency protocol. Once we switch to that track, we're sealed in until authorities arrive. No one gets on or off." "How long will that take?" The engineer shrugged. "Hours, maybe." It's a remote location. The conductor appeared behind Alina. Should I make an announcement? Not yet, Alina said. Let me think. Her mind raced. A dead man with a cryptic note, a sudden quarantine order. It couldn't be coincidence. When did this message come in? She asked. Just now, the engineer said. After the man was found dead? Yes. Alina's instincts flared. Show me the identification code for this order. The engineer pointed to a string of numbers at the bottom of the printout. Alina took out her phone and dialed her captain. No signal. She tried again. Nothing. Is there a radio I can use to contact the outside? Train radio, but it only connects to dispatch. Let me use it. The engineer handed her the receiver. Alina identified herself and requested verification of the quarantine order. A staticky voice replied, Order confirmed. Train 47. Proceed to Newkirk Junction. No exceptions. I need to speak to NYPD Captain Reynolds. Negative. All communications restricted to essential personnel only. Proceed to Newkirk Junction. The line went dead. Alina handed back the receiver, mind churning. Someone had just effectively sealed 247 passengers on a train with a dead body and no way to leave. Is there another way to communicate with the outside? She asked the engineer. Not from a moving train. Cell service is spotty in these areas anyway. The conductor spoke up. What should I tell the passengers? Alina thought quickly. Tell them there's a medical emergency and we're being rerouted to a facility that can handle it. No need to cause panic, but I need a list of everyone on board, especially anyone who boarded at the last minute. As the conductor left, Alina stared out the front window at the tracks stretching before them. They were heading into a trap, that much was clear. But who set it? And why? The dead man's note burned in her pocket. This man did not die alone, and I will be next. Who wrote it? Harrington himself, warning of his impending murder? Or someone else entirely? And who was next? One thing was certain. Until this train reached its mysterious destination, all 247 passengers, including Alina herself, were potential victims or suspects. Part 2. Closed Circuit. The announcement came over the PA system at 8:03 a.m. Ladies and gentlemen, we apologize for the inconvenience, but due to a medical emergency on board, Train 47 will be rerouted to a special medical facility. We expect a brief delay in our arrival to Boston. Please remain in your seats. Thank you for your cooperation. Alina watched the passengers from the doorway of the first car. Most barely looked up from their phones or newspapers. A few exchanged curious glances. No one seemed particularly alarmed. Yet, the conductor, whose name tag read Sarah, approached with a tablet. Here's the passenger manifest. No last-minute boarders that I'm aware of, but I've only been on this route for 2 weeks. Alina scrolled through the list. 247 names. Too many to investigate individually in the time they had. She needed to narrow it down. What about the people sitting near Harrington, in the third car? Sarah leaned over to look. Seat 17A was Harrington, 17B would be... She pointed to a name. Claire Winters. The woman who found him? Yes, and across the aisle would be 18A and B, Jonathan Pike and Emma Reeves. I need to speak with them. And I need a quiet place to do it. You can use the staff compartment at the back of the last car. It's small but private. One more thing, Alina said. How many exits does this train have? 4 sets of doors on each passenger car, plus the emergency exits, but they can't be opened while the train is moving. The doors remain sealed for 30 seconds after stopping. Safety protocol. Alina nodded. At least no one could easily escape. I'll start with Claire Winters. Can you bring her to the staff compartment? Discreetly. While waiting, Alina examined the note again. The paper was high-quality stationery, the kind found in expensive hotels. The handwriting was steady, deliberate, not written in a panic. And the safety pin. Who carries safety pins unless they're planning to attach something? The door opened, and Sarah ushered in a woman in her 30s, professionally dressed with a designer handbag clutched tightly to her chest. "Ms. Winters? I'm Detective Alina Voss. I'd like to ask you a few questions about the man sitting next to you." Claire Winters sank into the offered chair. "Is he really dead? They wouldn't tell me anything." "I'm afraid so. What can you tell me about him?" "Nothing. I never spoke to him. I was on my phone most of the time. Then I went to the bathroom. When I came back, he was like that." She shuddered. "Did you notice anything unusual before you left your seat? Did he seem ill? Anxious?" Claire thought for a moment. He was working on his laptop. Seemed focused. Nothing unusual. "Did anyone approach him while you were there?" "The coffee cart came by. He bought a coffee." "Who served it?" "A young man. Dark hair, beard." Alina made a note. "Did you see anyone else interact with Mr. Harrington?" Claire shook her head. "No, but I wasn't really paying attention." "One last question. This is important. Did you notice his tie? Specifically, was it straight or twisted when you returned to your seat?" Claire looked confused. "His tie? I don't remember." Alina thanked her and had Sarah bring in Jonathan Pike next. Pike was a tall man in his 40s with a runner's build and the confident posture of someone used to being in charge. "Mr. Pike, you were sitting across from James Harrington. Did you notice anything unusual about him or anyone who interacted with him?" Pike crossed his legs casually. "Can't say I did. I was on a conference call most of the morning. Headphones in." He tapped his wireless earbuds. "Did you see who might have served him coffee?" "No, but I saw him drinking it. Around 7:45, I'd guess." "What about when Miss Winters found him? Did you notice anything then?" "Just her screaming. By the time I looked up, people were already gathering." Alina studied Pike. His demeanor was too calm for someone sitting across from a dead body less than an hour ago. "What do you do for a living, Mr. Pike?" "I'm in pharmaceuticals, research division at Novartis." "Pharmaceuticals? Interesting. Are you familiar with toxins that could cause symptoms resembling a heart attack?" Pike's eyebrow raised slightly. "There are several, actually. Tetrodotoxin, certain digitalis compounds." "Why? You think he was poisoned?" "Just exploring possibilities. Thank you for your time." Emma Reeves was next, a college student returning to Boston University after visiting family in New York. She had been asleep for most of the journey and had little to add. The coffee server was more interesting. Miguel Santos had worked for Amtrak for 3 years and knew the regulars on this route. "Mr. Harrington? Yeah, he takes this train every Friday. Always orders black coffee, no sugar." "Was that what he ordered today?" "Yep. Same as always." "Did you notice anything unusual about him? Or anyone who might have approached him?" Miguel thought for a moment. "Nothing about him. But there was a woman who asked about him earlier, before we departed." Alina leaned forward. "What woman?" "Middle-aged, expensive coat. She asked if the gentleman in 17A had boarded yet. I told her I didn't know seat numbers, and she described him." "What did she do then?" "Nothing. She thanked me and walked away. I figured she was meeting him." "Would you recognize her if you saw her again?" "Probably. She had distinctive red glasses." Alina had Sarah bring Miguel a tablet with the passenger photos. He scrolled through, then stopped. "That's her. Seat 29C. Alina checked the manifest. Dr. Eleanor Reed, age 52. By the time Alina made her way to car 5 to find Dr. Reed, the mood on the train had shifted. People were checking their watches, looking out windows, murmuring to each other. The brief delay was stretching too long to be believable. Seat 29C was empty. The passenger across the aisle, an elderly man, informed Alina that the woman with red glasses had gone toward the dining car about 20 minutes ago. Alina found her in the small cafe area, sitting alone with a cup of tea, staring out the window. The red glasses sat on the table beside her. "Doctor? Eleanor Reed?" The woman looked up. Sharp eyes assessed Alina quickly. "Yes? I'm Detective Voss, NYPD. I'd like to ask you about James Harrington." Not a flicker of surprise crossed Reed's face. "I assumed someone would come eventually." "You know him?" "I knew him. We worked together once many years ago." "At Meridian Financial?" "Number at Genzyme Laboratories, before he moved to finance." Alina sat down across from her. "Another pharmaceutical connection. Interesting." "Is it?" Reed took a sip of tea. "I suppose it would seem that way." "You asked about him before the train departed. Why?" Reed set down her cup carefully. "I recognized his name on the passenger list when I checked in. I was curious if it was the same James Harrington." "How did you access the passenger list?" A slight smile. "I didn't say I accessed it. I said I recognized his name when I checked in. The ticketing agent mentioned they needed to reseat me because Mr. Harrington in 17A had requested a window seat. It caught my attention." Plausible, but Alina wasn't convinced. "What was your relationship with Harrington at Genzyme?" "Purely professional. We worked on different projects." "When did you last see him?" 15 years ago when I left the company." "Yet you recognized his name immediately and went looking for him on this train. Why?" Reed sighed. "Detective, I understand you're doing your job, but I fail to see the relevance. The man had a heart attack, didn't he?" "Did he?" Reed's eyes narrowed slightly. "Isn't that what the conductor announced? A medical emergency?" "I never specified what kind of emergency." A tense silence fell between them. Finally, Reed spoke. "Am I being accused of something, Detective?" "Not at this time, but I would appreciate knowing your whereabouts between 7:30 and 7:50 this morning." "I was right here having breakfast. The server can confirm it." "And you haven't left this car since boarding?" "Only to use the restroom in the adjacent car." Alina made a note to check with the cafe staff. "One more question, Doctor." "Reed, in your professional opinion, what substances could cause symptoms mimicking a heart attack that would act quickly and be difficult to detect?" Reed's gaze was steady. "Several dozen, Detective. But I specialize in oncology, not toxicology." As Alina stood to leave, Reed added, "You might want to check when this train was last serviced. Amtrak has been cutting corners lately. Carbon monoxide can cause symptoms similar to cardiac arrest." It was a reasonable suggestion, but Alina sensed deflection. She thanked Reed and moved on, her suspicion not diminished. The engineer confirmed they were approaching Newkirk Junction, a remote rail yard primarily used for maintenance and rerouting during track work. They would arrive in approximately 30 minutes. Alina needed to move faster. She returned to Harrington's body, which had been covered with a blanket and cordoned off from other passengers. Using gloves borrowed from the first aid kit, she conducted a more thorough examination. No injection marks on visible skin, no obvious trauma. His belongings had been collected in a plastic bag: wallet, phone, keys, a pen, business cards, and a small notebook. The notebook contained meeting notes, mostly financial jargon Alina couldn't decipher, but on the last used page, a single line stood out. ER, still looking. Need confirmation by Friday. ER Eleanor Reed. The timing seemed too coincidental. Alina tried Harrington's phone again, still locked. She examined it more closely and noticed a smudge pattern on the screen, the most commonly used swipe pattern for Android phones. With nothing to lose, she tried it. The phone unlocked. Recent calls, mostly business contacts. Nothing from anyone with the initials ER, recent texts. An exchange with someone listed simply as M from last night. M, are you sure about this? Once we start, there's no turning back. Harrington, I'm sure. I'll bring the proof tomorrow. 7:12 train. M, I'll be there. Middle car. Don't trust anyone else. Alina scrolled through Harrington's emails. Hundreds of unread messages, mostly work-related, but one from yesterday caught her eye. From irid@genzaimirsearch.com. Subject: regarding our previous conversation. James, I know it's been years, but what you've discovered changes everything. We need to talk before you go public. I'll be on the same train tomorrow morning. Please, hear me out. Lives are at stake. Eleanor. So Reed had lied about not being in contact with Harrington, but was she M from the text messages? And what had Harrington discovered? The train began to slow. Through the windows, Alina could see they were approaching what looked like an abandoned rail yard. Rusted freight cars sat on parallel tracks. A faded building with boarded windows loomed in the distance. This was Newkirk Junction, but there was no sign of any medical team or CDC presence. Alina's phone suddenly buzzed with an incoming call, the first signal she'd had in hours. The screen showed unknown caller. Voss, she answered. A digitally altered voice responded, Detective Voss. By now you've found the note. You've seen the quarantine order. You know this isn't a coincidence. Who is this? Someone who knows why James Harrington died. And who killed him. Tell me. Not yet. First, you need to understand what's at stake. Look in Harrington's left shoe. Inside the lining. Alina glanced at the body a few seats away. Why should I trust you? Because in exactly 12 minutes, your train will stop, and the real danger will begin. The line went dead. Alina tried calling back. Nothing. The signal was gone again. She made her way to Harrington's body and carefully removed his left shoe. Using her hotel key card, she slit the inner lining. Inside was a small USB drive. The train lurched to a halt. Through the windows, Alina saw they had stopped in the middle of the rail yard, 100 yards from the building. No platform, no personnel, no other signs of life. The PA system crackled. Ladies and gentlemen, we have arrived at our temporary stop. Please remain seated. Medical personnel will board shortly to assess the situation. But Alina knew better. No one was coming to help. This wasn't a quarantine. It was a trap.